What's up, guys? Welcome to Operation B, the podcast. I am your host, Jamie Thurber, and I am here to take you on a journey of deepening, of expansion, of understanding more about who you are and why you're here and how to operate in an optimal way that allows you to do what you want to do, feel how you want to feel, take care of yourself truly, and support everything that your heart desires. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Operation B, the podcast. I'm Jamie, your host, and today we have Emilia Rizzuto with us, and we're going to be talking about all kinds of great things. Thanks for coming.
Hi, Jamie. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So some things about Emilia that are cool, and I wanted to have her on because I know that she owns a business, a very successful business. I've watched it grow in the time that I've known you, and you have a family, and you travel, and you live a healthy lifestyle. You do your best to live a healthy lifestyle, right? Which I think is the best any of us can do.
Yeah.
And so when looking at that and thinking about it, I'm like, this is another great person to come and have a conversation with. And that was before I knew you also have dealt with a chronic illness for years.
Almost my whole life.
Yeah. 15. I wrote it down. That was, yes.
I was 15 when I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease.
Yeah. And 15 years ago, I feel like a lot of people didn't even know what Crohn's disease was.
Well, that was a lot more than 15 years ago.
Okay. Oh, no. Well, no, right. Obviously. Gotcha.
Yeah.
15 years old, people didn't know.
Nobody knew. I mean, we had no idea what it was. When I was diagnosed, I'd never heard of it.
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone else that had it. There was no internet.
Right.
You know, we knew nothing. And I was in New York at the time. That's where I grew up.
Okay.
And so we did have really good doctors, like, you know, the doctors that specialize in GI and Crohn's. And I remember getting the diagnosis. What ended up happening actually originally was I got mono, or Epstein-Barr virus.
Okay.
And I just was never okay after that. Like, I was constantly sick. And then I started having more GI symptoms. And they didn't know what was wrong, so I went for, like, every test under the sun.
Yeah.
You know, and back then they were a little bit more barbaric than they are now.
Uh-huh.
Like, now you can do a CT scan and pretty much see anything. Back then it was like, you know, scopes going in and out of every
Been there.
place
Uh-huh.
possible. And the clean, you know, and I was a teenager, I was a kid still.
Yeah.
And so it took a couple of tests, and then finally, you know, they called us in and gave us the diagnosis.
Gotcha. Okay. So that was interesting when I found that. I was like, oh, what? It's like meant to be that we're having this conversation. I hate it when I find people who can relate to having something that people don't understand or takes forever to find out. But then sometimes it does lead to a cool conversation because there are a lot of aspects, I think, of having something that you live with, but also something that doesn't show up the same way every time. It gets affected by other things. You look fine, so nobody understands. Like there's just different aspects to it that I think we don't talk about enough. And so I was in 4th grade when I started having symptoms. I still don't have a diagnosis, but same thing. 4th grade, they're sticking things everywhere they possibly can, doing crazy tests.
Yeah.
Like that's where my needle phobia came from at a young age because they were taking so much blood that I like passed out every single time. Like I was just a little bit of medical trauma involved in those kinds of things, I think.
I blocked all mine out.
Right. Well, there's a piece of that, too, where a lot of people don't talk about it, is not only is there, like, a mental heaviness that comes with figuring things like that out, and then, as we'll talk about in a second, how you've had to find the way that fits best for you, which led you to elderberries. But there's it's a mental load that it's hard to explain to somebody else.
Yeah, it's a major mental load because when you're not well, that's really all you think about. Mm-hmm. You know, you just can't function, and so you wake up in the morning, and that's the first thing.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I know with my therapist, we talk a lot about, like, especially now that I'm more aware of what's happening in my body, even if I don't know, like, what it is per se, the frustration that I would just block out completely because what do I do with it? Like, there's really nothing else to do with it. And so now I try to feel it, which is awkward and weird, but it's helpful.
Yeah.
Emotionally, especially.
So
but
you can move through it.
Yeah, but think about that. How many years you've just had frustration and then just pushed it away?
Oh, at least 2 decades.
Yeah, because you're like, I can't do anything with this, so we're going to avoid that and go. And I was going to say here, and that's what led you to getting certified as a nutritional counselor, right?
Absolutely.
Which is awesome.
It was, and I didn't actually do that until I was in my 30s. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it was 15 years later. Gotcha. It took me to get to the point where I was like, okay, maybe I can do something about this.
Yeah.
You know, because I went to get certified not just because I wanted to get certified. Like I was trying to heal my body. And so I went to school to learn.
Yeah.
Because we're not taught any of this stuff. You know, I was basically told like Crohn's disease is chronic. You will have this for the rest of your life. There's nothing you can do but take like this cocktail of drugs. It doesn't matter what you eat. It doesn't matter what you drink. It doesn't matter how you live your life. Like none of that matters. Just take these meds. And I did.
Totally. Right. You're like, okay, doctor, you're who I'm supposed to believe.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do.
In a cancer infusion center once a month for 5 hours for 10 years.
Wow.
And got Remicade. And I did it, just sat there alone for, a decade.
And it was, that's through an IV. Is that how you get it? Okay.
It was through an IV.
Jeez. So that is, I mean, and how long have you been married to your husband?
It's going to be almost 20 years. We're coming up on 20 years.
Awesome.
This year, yeah.
That's great. We were talking a little bit before the show just about how I think when you have a partner that at first they're probably like, what in the hell is wrong with this person? Like, are you really that sick? Like, it's hard for other people to grasp. But then as time goes on, they understand and start to become a support system that helps. So during that, I can imagine, because that is a piece of the puzzle. And I'm not, I never want to take away from the person who's sick, obviously. But I know with me, I always feel really guilty about what I may be doing to impact someone else, but even though I can't control it. And so with that being said, I know that I used to feel really guilty and apologize a lot to Tony. And that's changed over the years. I still apologize because sometimes I just have to say it, but he's just so much more supportive. Do you feel like during those times, especially with your husband, when you were figuring that out in the midst of like, this is my debt, like my life sentence, I can't do anything else?
We had definitely easier times and harder times. I mean, there was times where I was more sick or less sick, or whether we had kids or didn't have kids at that time.
Yeah.
I do think that I tried to hide a lot of it. Like I would like wait till he left to go to work to kind of fall apart.
Yeah.
Just kind of keep it together. And even in my healing process, it was a lot. So when I was pregnant with my son, I was 30 years old and I was back in the hospital with another Crohn's flare. And at that point, I was still on Remicade. And they gave me no option. They said, okay, we'll just give you an extra dose of Remicade in the middle. Because I was doing it every 4 weeks at the highest dose for my size. And I'm not a huge person.
Yeah.
And I was probably even skinnier then, because when you have Crohn's, like, you just, you can't really hold anything. So I was always at my skinniest when I was really sick.
Yeah.
And so they gave me steroids. They gave me more Remicade. And that's when I was kind of like, oh, man. And it's his kid, too. So I'm sure he had emotions and feelings about that, though I don't actually think we ever discussed it, how he felt. But that's when I was like, okay, I have to figure this out. And on the journey of figuring it out, I had a lot of ups and downs.
I'm sure.
I did some dumb things, too, because I was like, oh, bone broth's going to heal everything. Like, I'm just going to get off Remicade and just live on bone broth. Like, that didn't work.
This
great.
must be it.
Yeah. And then, back, sick again. And so, anyway, I had a lot of ups and downs. I tried everything. And I think it did get annoying at some points because, anytime we went out to dinner, like, oh, I can't eat this, I can't do this, I can't. I remember one time we went out to dinner to, like, a burger patty. It's like a nice restaurant. I'm like, I'm just going to get a burger patty. And even the waiter was like, okay. So there's definitely a lot of times where, it was a pain and I wasn't fun. And, I was just trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And it sucks because you had no control over being in pain. That's the crappy part. And so we have to think it's a very like multi-layered thing that is hard, I think, because we, of course, have empathy for the people in our lives who are like, I know that this is a pain in the butt and not necessarily what you signed up for potentially.
Yeah.
And neither did I.
Right. Yeah.
Neither did I, but here we are.
But they have a choice. We don't.
That's true.
Like,
yeah.
They have a choice to stay or not to stay.
True.
And I'm very lucky that my husband, he always tried to cook to accommodate, always tried to help, had my back, we did the best we could.
Yeah. That's just great. That's really good. So you have 2 kids.
I do.
Teenagers.
Yes. One is going to be 16 on Tuesday.
Oh, awesome.
And I'll be driving.
That's cool. Creepy. Also at the same time.
Yeah. Another thing to worry about.
Right. But also that leads to busy life.
Yes. We'll give him some freedom. So it definitely helps, with him driving.
Yeah. I know my brother was talking about, and my niece is still many years away from driving, but he's like, I can't wait till she can drive so she can take her brother to his practices and this and that.
I almost feel like the teenage years are a little bit tougher because, when they're little, you're just kind of, wherever you're going, they're going with you. But now they're teenagers, like, they have their own lives. They want to do stuff. And they're not really still aware of other people's lives.
Yeah,
so it's like, hey, will you drive me here right now? And you're like, right now? Like I'm doing something. And they're like, oh, but can't you just stop? And you're like, sure.
Well, and I'm sure working from home.
Yes.
Right, running the business from home definitely adds a layer, because I know, especially when I first started my company, it took me years to get my mom to really even understand that you can't just call me in the middle of the day and I can just stop what I'm doing and talk to you for 2 hours or meet you somewhere. People are like, well, you're home. I'm like, yeah, but I have stuff to do.
Yeah, I'm laughing because totally. Like, whether it's my mom calling and she's like, da-da, and I'm like, Mom, I'm busy. And she's like, what? Or, even my husband coming home, he comes home like in the afternoon, and he'll just come in my office and just like want to chat for an hour. And I'm like, no, I have like another hour left until like my younger one comes home. So you got to get out.
Right, I have to do things.
Yeah, get out.
To do stuff.
And then she comes home and she's like, ah. And then an hour later, the other one comes home. And then the dogs are there. And I'm like,
yeah, it's a lot to manage. Well, and that's part of the interesting piece, too, is that I think, nobody talks about some of the parts of being an adult human that they just expect it to, like, oh, yeah, it's just part of it. I'm like, we have houses, we have to go grocery shopping, we have to cook for ourselves. Like, there's so many pieces to the puzzle other than everyone's, like, adulting. And I'm like, no. Like, it is, obviously, I'm not complaining about it. We handle it. But it is an aspect that adds a layer, and then you add in teenage children, and then your husband leaves super early for work in the morning, right?
He's out at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So I have the morning shift and the evening shift because he's just not there.
Yeah.
And at night he goes to bed at like 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Because he has to wake up before the crack of dawn, actually.
Totally. And, because we try to eat healthy in the house, too. So, like you're saying, like, adding that layer. Like, it'd be easy if we were just grabbing McDonald's every day.
Sure.
But you were actually trying to, like, cook and eat real food. So everyone has to kind of help out and be involved and go grocery shopping. And my son both my kids are athletes, so they want to also eat well and fuel. So you have to, and there's constant, like, they eat so much food.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right? And it's just going to keep getting worse.
Yeah.
For a while, at least. I know with boys especially. But, I mean, I don't know. I ate a lot. My mom used to laugh. She's like, I think you eat more than your brother, when we were both teenagers. With that, I mean, think about it. And then it's so important because you want to do that for your children. And I'm glad they have that mindset too. But like, you have to.
I have to, yeah.
You don't have a choice.
I also worry, like, Crohn's can be genetic too. Like my dad has lupus.
Okay.
So there's obviously a component, like we're Ashkenazi. So we're in a higher bracket for that, So there's all these other things. And I'm like, something in the back of my head, like I worry. Because I grew up eating Lucky Charms and Rice-A-Roni and like Entenmann's Donuts. Like we didn't know,
Yep.
And so for me, I'm always like, could that have triggered it? Could that? Well, it definitely doesn't help.
Sure.
And so it's a big deal for me to try to teach them and fuel them properly because that is something that I do worry about.
Sure, of course. I would be too. And I think, it's a great thing for them to learn. One day I was grocery shopping right after I had to stop eating gluten. I was at Deerberg's, and the kid that was checking me out was, I guess he was 19 or 20. But he had said that his dad had celiac disease, so they could never have gluten in the house his entire life. So it was very normal for him. So we were having this conversation about how the whole family chipped in, had to be a part of it, and everybody paid attention and what could come in the house and not come in the house. And it was an interesting conversation because he was saying when he went to college, he was like, I wasn't eating gluten-free because it's expensive. And it's not always very convenient. And so, but he like gained a bunch of pounds and his face was super swollen. He's like, and he goes, and I came home for like the first holiday weekend or whatever and noticed such a massive change in my energy levels and how I felt. And he's like, so now I do go out of my way to do gluten. I'm thinking, what a beautiful thing to teach a kid who normally no one else would even think of that.
Yeah, he would think that's a normal baseline of like, I just feel like crap and that's normal. So he wouldn't know the difference.
Exactly. He wouldn't know that if he cut it out, he'd feel better.
Yeah.
So that is a gift you're giving your kids, even if it is, because you're worried about something else that you might have given them. This is a gift of teaching them. Now they have a baseline of what it feels like to eat healthy.
Yeah, for sure. And they know the difference now. Like sometimes they'll come home and say, oh my God, like, my friend had Cheetos for lunch and like this dressing is like first ingredient is soybean oil. So they know.
That's good. I think it's good at least. I know like my mom had a heart attack when she was 60 And I had to take my dad to the grocery store and teach him how to read a label.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not his fault. He just doesn't know.
Doesn't know.
Nobody told them
Yeah.
when you say sodium, they think it's salt. And I'm like, yes, there's an aspect to that, but it's all the preservative. It's all. So I have to explain to them what that meant and show him what labels, like, see, here's the two differences. And I know he probably hated every minute of it, but that was the main thing they said for my mom was her sodium intake had to go way down. But it was just, again, we grew up eating processed foods. That's what we knew.
Yep.
So I tell people all the time, even if you don't have chronic illness, you likely have some sort of inflammation happening that you're not even aware of just because of what you're eating. So if you can clean that up, it'll give you more energy, less brain fog, like those kinds of things, which is, I think, my number one piece of advice, because in coaching, people always ask me random things. And one of them is make sure you're sleeping enough,
Yeah. That's
drinking
number one.
water, and eat whole foods.
It's pretty simple, actually. You know, people make it so complicated, and it's not at all.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, that's for
Yeah.
sure. And also, I mean, can you make it really expensive and complicated? Absolutely, sure can. But it also, I always tell people, if you can find like a local produce stand,
Yeah.
that's the
We have
ticket.
a lot around here, too. But even, you know, I actually think it's easier. Like, it's easier to eat an apple. It's easier to eat a banana. It's
Yeah.
easier to eat these things than, you know, trying to make something complicated. So when
Sure.
people, I don't know, say it's so hard, I'm like, it's really not. Like, you
Yeah.
just take out the bad stuff.
Or like I like to eat green bean salad as my side something just
Yeah.
because they're so fast. I can put them in water. I can put them in the skillet. I can, there's lots of different options. And
Yes.
it takes like 5 seconds to cook them.
It does, yeah.
I wanted to ask you something that I remember us talking about. So we met at Women in Business that Emery Frisella does and love that function. So much fun. And we were talking about your Elderberry company, which I looked up yesterday to learn more about it. So we use your product in our house.
Love
You
it.
gave a sample in one of the bags that we got.
Yeah,
So
some gummies.
yeah, so somebody, if you've never been to Women in Business, like the tote bag of take-home things is amazing. You get so much cool stuff. And the gummies were in there. And of course, if I can purchase something from a local company, I'd rather, but then to look and see that you actually have really clean ingredients in a gummy is really cool too. But so we got obsessed with the products in our house. Like Tony, I think I told you when we saw you, he like guzzles the elixir. It's so funny. I'm like, I don't know if you're supposed to drink that much, babe. He's like, I'm fine. It makes me feel great. I'm like, okay, whatever.
He's a bigger guy.
Yeah, right? That's what I thought. I'm like, you're bigger than the average dose. It's fine. But I remember you talking about doing your best to source locally and then using local farms,
Yeah, I do.
which I love.
So the elixir is all sourced locally.
Okay.
Missouri is leading the way in commercial elderberry farming, which is pretty cool.
That
and
is
that's
so
how I
cool.
kind of was able to even start this, you know. So the reason that I even got to elderberry is because what I was saying earlier, I was getting Remicade and all these immunosuppressant therapies.
Yeah.
It really wrecked my immune system.
Okay.
So when I was trying to figure out how to not get sick constantly, you know, I found elderberry, and then I tried some on the market, and I was like, they're just like thick. They were thick. They were
Like
really
syrupy.
sweet, very syrupy. I don't know. I didn't like they had like glucose syrup in them or rice bran in them. So I just was already working with a company that sourced from different farms, and they had elderberries available from a local farm.
Okay.
And so I was like, let me just try to make it myself. And so once I started that process, it's a completely different kind of a syrup that you get. It's much juicier because I use fresh juice. I'm actually juicing it. But even with fresh berries, you can kind of smush them and then strain them out.
Okay.
And I use whole ingredients, so no powders, no extracts. So even like a lot of companies use cinnamon, ginger, and clove in powder form.
Gotcha.
So you kind of get like a grit at the bottom.
Yeah.
You know, and kids don't like it. I don't like that too either. Like it's just like not a great feeling in your mouth. So everything is whole and fresh and just strained out.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so by, you know, starting it that way, like that's just how it started. I was able to just keep expanding that way and finding more farms and, you know, more people, more beekeepers.
Yeah, I love it. That's one of my favorite parts is so when we live in Defiance and when I started getting in touch with New Melly is our neighbor. And so in with their farmers market and the co-op there, it was like heaven for me to find people because they're there. You just have to find them. And then to be able to know that like the sunflower oil that I use is literally made down the street.
It's amazing.
You know, or the honey we use. I did get some of your honey the other day when I did an order, and I haven't tried it yet. I'm excited. I couldn't stop thinking about it when I heard you talk about it being a natural energy source. I was like, oh, I need this.
Right, because do you remember like in the Olympics when athletes they use like maple syrup and honey
Yes.
for quick, clean fuel.
Yeah.
And then so now if you add elderberry to that honey, you're just getting even more benefit because of the flavonoids and the anthocyanins. It's great for circulation and heart health too.
I know I had to get two because Tony will just like steal any of my stuff. Yes. I'm like, stop touching my honey. That's the thing. I was joking because we don't have kids in the house anymore, and our pantry is still very sticky a lot of the time, and it's because of him. He'll just be like grabbing a spoonful out, and it's like dribbling.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
I know.
Like,
Honey's probably my favorite food, and
So
it's
good.
also like such a mess.
yes, it is really good though. Yeah. So I wanted to, that farm stuff, that's just for me. Like I geek out over that part. Like I think that that's really, really cool because not only is it that you're sourcing a product that's good for everyone, but you're also supporting other industries and other small businesses and things that need that support because we don't want them to go away.
We don't want them to go away, and it does cost me more money.
Sure, I'm sure it
I
does.
can definitely source with much less cost.
Yeah.
Especially since I'm small, like I'm not buying 1 million of something.
Sure.
So that is the one negative thing, but it was important enough to me that I was like, this matters, and I'd rather do it that way.
I think the way that just a little feedback, I think the way that you market it to your customers, like as a customer, that's okay with me. Like I'd rather pay you a little more money because I know that there's like an ethics piece to what you're purchasing and what you're giving people to put in their bodies. Like that matters.
And I feel the same way when I buy products. So for me, I have like found the products that I love. Like I still drink coffee. I found a coffee that I like. I just get it on subscription. Like my toilet paper is on subscription. I use the plant paper.
Yeah, me too.
The brown.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time they came to my house, my husband was like, "What the hell is this?" I'm like, "It's good. It's good stuff." So whatever I find that I like, that I think the brands are doing a good job, and some of these brands are not in stores. Like it's very hard to get a small brand into a large chain.
Yeah.
We don't have the distribution. There's a million things. That's a whole other podcast episode.
Right.
But so I just put everything on the subscription that I want, and it just comes when I need it to come, and I love it.
I do the same thing when I find a company, and I remember just looking at how much like for like the paper products that we were going through was making me crazy. And so I just made the change. I didn't even say anything. I'm like, nope, this is what we're using.
Yep.
And it comes, and I do like that because and if you buy it in subscription, then and you do the math, it's really not that bad.
No, and I buy the year's worth. It comes like this giant box show.
Nice.
Well, there's like this giant box shows up, and I
like stash it in all the places, right? I love that. No, and I feel the same way. So same thing with like, I started using a certain kind of laundry detergent, so I sourced that and get it on
those sheets.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Our house is probably very similar.
I know. I think we're very similar in a lot of ways. Speaking of the not crazy lifestyle. I want to say that. I hate saying that actually. A lot of people are like, "Oh my God, you have so much going on. You must have a busy life." I'm like, well, sure. But what if instead it was just like a full life?
Yes, it's such a great shift. And you know what? That mindset shift happened for me kind of recently.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when I started the company and like kids were kind of at that weird age where they were just kind of becoming teens and getting super busy, and my husband's life is busy too.
Yeah.
And we don't have family here, so we moved from New York.
Right.
So all of our family's still on the East Coast. It did get to a point where I was like, oh my God, like this is too much, and I was starting to not feel well again. Because for me, one of the first symptoms I get is like I get tired. Where I'm like my body just it tells me right away.
Yeah, it's like,
and that's my
warning,
first sign.
warning.
Yeah, this is too much. And I think it was because I was constantly like, I have so much to do, I have so much to do, I have so much to do. Like, I'm so busy. Like, and it was a constant replay in my head of that. And I don't remember what I read, or there was something that I read, I think, that Existential Kink. Have you read that book?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that kind of put that idea in my head, like, wait a second, like, am I making, and just a couple things I was reading The Power of Now. Like, I still read all these kind of books and try to put this information in my head, so I'm still learning all the time. And it was like, I gotta chill. Like, it's me making me crazy. And that's a big piece of how you end up sick, I think, like the mental and emotional piece. And so I just started saying, like, I'm so lucky. Like, look at all this stuff I get to do.
Yeah.
Like, I get to raise these awesome kids. Like, I get to, like, have this fun life with my husband. We do a lot of fun stuff. I get to have this business. And then I also took some pressure off myself. And I'm like, fine, I'm not going to scale it to $100 million in 3 years. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to miss my son's hockey game.
Yeah.
Like, I only have him, like, he's leaving in 2 years. Like, I'm not going to miss that. Like, I'm never going to, on my dying bed, say, I wish I would have,
I wish I would have sold more gummies.
Yes, instead of, like, watching my kids' hockey game. You know what I mean? So I just took some pressure off myself and said, unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like, it's doing great. It's going to keep doing great. And I'm going to keep enjoying my life and not make myself nuts.
You know what's funny is the pressure word. That was the biggest lesson for me this past year or 2 years, was realizing that it was me putting that pressure on myself. Like, yes, does society tell you all these things you're supposed to do? Sure. Like, they plant the seed, but you're the one who fertilizes it,
Yeah.
right? And lets it grow and is like, oh, this little monster baby. Like, you
Yeah.
know, we do that. And so that's the key for me, is I'll start to notice, wait a minute, I'm putting way too much pressure on myself. I'm staying up later than I like to. Like, that's a kicker for me. And I'm like, wait, yep, you're doing it. You have to stop. Because I think what also kind of happens, and maybe let me know if you could relate to this. So being well and feeling much better than you did before, and then noticing that life was too busy and too chaotic and causing you to start to have those like warning signs.
Yeah.
Before, when you were feeling like crap all the time, were what I did was I would push myself as much as possible until my body would shut me down for a smidge, because it's like the only thing I could control
Yeah.
was what I was doing or producing. And so it's a weird shift when you get to the other side and you're like, wait a minute, I don't have, and that's when the shift happens. You're like, wait, okay, maybe I can prevent some of these symptoms, when before you never had that space to notice because it was just consistent.
Right. Totally. And there's also, I think, a piece of it where a part of my healing journey was a lot of mental and emotional healing that I had to do.
Yeah, I get it.
Besides the food, I had a whole other layer that I actually think was more important almost.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, what are you getting out of this illness? You know, like, why did you create, not that I'm taking blame,
Sure.
but it's like, if we do create illnesses for ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what was the reason? What am I getting out of it? You know, like, do I love being super skinny? Do I love having some extra attention? Do I love just being able to chill in bed? Because, you know, like, what are the benefits that I'm getting from this illness? And how do you associate with that?
Yeah.
So there's all these other parts that you don't want to look at.
Yep.
They call it the shadow work, or,
Yeah.
you know.
Because you say that and you're like, oh my God, someone's going to think I'm crazy.
Yeah. Or like,
or really think I'm making this up when I'm like not. Yeah.
Right, because we don't know. It's in our subconscious. Like, it's not something that we're actually bringing. We don't realize it. But when you do bring all that stuff to the surface, you have to work through that.
Yeah.
And say, okay, yeah, I am getting some benefits out of this.
Well, and when you say that, so that book, with those kinks, what we don't think about is the piece that does serve us in those.
Yeah.
But then what also comes from it, what I noticed was where my identity really was, well, I am going to do more than everyone else. I'm going to get so much more done. But what that identity piece was for me was helped me, like you were saying, hiding. It helped me hide how sick I really was, because I felt shame for that. I felt like a problem for that. I felt all the things, you know? And so realizing, though, that when some of the things that happen when you've been sick for so long, it becomes part of your identity, whether you like it or not. And then when you can look at that, you can be like, okay, what if it was just a part of things I deal with or I process or I handle, not like, hi, I'm Emilia and I'm sick.
Right.
You know?
And I actually stopped using those words. Like, I changed the way I said, yeah, I was diagnosed with Crohn's, you know, when I was 15, but I don't say I have Crohn's disease.
Okay. I
don't put that on myself anymore. And honestly, I'm a completely different person now than I was back then.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like, you know, part of the healing journey is becoming a different person. You know, you heal those parts of yourself. Even my cells are completely different. Like, everything's completely different.
Yep.
And so if I keep telling myself, I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this,
Yeah.
then it never goes away. It is part of who you are. So I do think you have to create a new identity for yourself.
Yeah.
And live in that identity.
I know.
You know, as a whole person that's, you know, healed.
Yeah.
And function that way.
It's wild because I know living in that, and a lot of times I'm great at it. And then sometimes I'll still have these moments where I'll have to say, because now I think I'm not nearly as far along in that, the physical healing side, especially as you are. So it's still a little newer for me to not feel like absolute death every single day. And so it's only been not very long. But with that, I had to get okay. There was a period in between where I had to become okay with saying I was sick to people instead of pretending like I was okay.
Yeah.
So it was this weird in between stage where I was like, okay, I don't want to own this and say like I am this, but I also have to identify that it is really happening. And then I had to do that, which was the most uncomfortable part, to be able to get to a place where I can say this is a part of my story. This is a part of things that I keep in my mind on how I live life. You know, I
Yeah.
operate around it, or, not in spite of it, but in a way that's supportive of things not happening. Um, but it was hard for me because I wanted to jump forward to the I'm not sick, there's nothing wrong with me. But that was so important piece of my healing, my mental and emotional healing was me no longer hiding it. And so I feel like I am to a place now where I can acknowledge it without claiming that as like what I am,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
totally get that. And I did have that too, where I went, when I was in school and I was trying all these diets and I did go to all these therapists and, healers and whatever I was doing, tapping and all the things.
Yep.
I did have to tell people, like, hey, I'm going through this right now.
Yeah.
Because when I would be around them or family or friends,
Yeah.
like, I can't do this, I'm doing this, like, you have to let them in because otherwise they're like, what the hell's going on with you? Like, you're being weird.
Yeah. Because
And
then
do
you
need a
are more
support.
isolated.
Yes, you are very isolated,
Mhm.
very isolated, and you do need a support system.
Yeah.
It's definitely helpful. And sometimes people were like, I don't ever know what you're eating, or what you're doing, or what's happening. And some people were more supportive than others,
Sure.
for sure. And but you know what? Even the people that weren't as supportive or like didn't get it, and I
Yeah.
should say they weren't, they just didn't get it.
Yeah.
When you come out the other end and they see like, oh, okay, I see the changes. I see this kind of new, healthier person coming out,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden they're on board. They're like, hey, wait a second, what is gluten? What
Yeah.
is this? What is that? Then they start to
Mhm.
kind of, ask you questions like, because
Yeah.
they have their own issues too.
Mhm. Oh yeah, I love that. I think that I remember that happening when I left like a real job, a corporate job, and started my own company. I went through that with my mentality and the way that I operated when I was rewriting kind of those stories in my mind about what work had to look like and all that stuff. I remember that mindset freaking so many people out. While that was happening, I was still pretending like I wasn't sick, except for like 3 people were aware of it. And that I remember that happening then. And so it was nice going through the physical healing piece of it, of knowing, okay, this will happen. I remember it happening then when I thought, oh my God, no one's ever going to understand me again. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. And in Missouri, let's be real, like a lot of people do think we're probably, I don't know, maybe not going to speak for you, but a lot of people do think I'm crazy with the stuff I use and try and how I operate because it's just not in their wheelhouse just yet.
I think my community is more, health and wellness community.
Yeah.
So I have a strong community where we do talk about,
That's good.
all the things, parasite cleanses.
Mhm.
And I just was hanging out with a friend of mine and she's like, what parasite cleanse did you do? And, we're talking about all the different like
Yeah.
biohacking things and which coffee we drink. Does it have so I
Yeah.
did find myself this amazing community. And that was one of the gifts that I was given, I think.
Yeah.
Like I have probably like some of the closest friends I've ever had that I know I can say like the craziest thing to. They be like, "Oh my God, you do!"
I love that. No, that's great. Thank God for Tony for me on that one. Like, and he is so educated in health and fitness that because of his career.
Yeah.
So it was really great to have him because even if he didn't understand what was happening to me, he would go try to figure it out.
Love that.
Which helped me a lot too because then at least I didn't feel like completely alone.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of the stuff I've done, the protocols, I've not had to use any antibiotics or medications for healing the things that we've been finding in my digestive tract and in different parts of my body. So that's exciting.
Yeah, that's great.
But along with that, it's wild things I'm taking, what I'm doing. People are like, what? You have to do that test on the full moon because that's when parasites are active. And I'm like, yep.
And they're like, okay.
I'm like, it's not just
you go do
witchcraft.
that.
The doctor told me to do that.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah. I mean, there's gravity and all these things that we know about. So why would you think that the pull from the moon's any different? Or,
Yeah. And it's so
Anyway,
funny.
yeah.
I love that. And I think that I feel like almost every person actually that I've had conversation with that's found a real true sense of health, meaning when I say a real true sense of health, I mean that it's not because of a supplement only kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
because of their food. It's because they've long-term changed their lifestyle, are all into the weird stuff that we do.
Yeah, you know what happens? I think when you are up against a wall and you have no choice, like, like for me, like, sleeping on a bathroom floor.
Right.
Because it's not worth going back to bed just
Right.
to come right back in 2 seconds. When you're there and you can't have a life.
Yeah.
And you have no choice, so you start going down
Do
all kinds
anything.
of rabbit holes. You go. I mean, I've done all kinds of weird stuff. Like
Try
literally
it all.
traveled to Brazil.
Good for you.
You know,
That's awesome.
to meet a medium or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you crazy stories.
Yeah.
Because you're willing
That's
to
a
try,
whole nother show
that's
we
a whole
should
nother
do.
show, yeah. And you know, so you're willing to try anything, and then once you expand to that point, you're kind of like, okay, the world is not what I thought it was.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many other aspects of this life and of us as like a soul and a being, you know, our inner world that no one teaches us, which is the most important place ever, in my opinion. Like, if you don't connect to that inner world, you're missing half your life, I think. Like,
I agree.
It's nuts.
I agree.
Again, that's a whole other show, but there's so many things, and once you can't stop. Once you start going down those rabbit holes, you can't stop, and then it's just like everything like explodes and opens up, and you're no longer the same person.
Yeah.
You know, and then you can almost separate yourself from the illness and from all the things that, I don't know, that's how it felt for me.
Yeah.
Where I was like, okay, I'm not playing this game anymore. As they say, like, step out of the matrix or whatever it is. Like, you're just like, I'm not playing this game anymore. Like, I don't want, this is it. And you decide for yourself what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that for me was like, I mean, everything sort of changed for me.
That's
once
really
I hit
cool.
that point.
That's really cool. I think that there's a relationship with our body that we're never taught to have. There's cues our body gives us that we don't hear and we don't even know exist.
Intuition.
Yeah, so much. Like, I am an intellectualizer. That is where my brain, my comfort zone is trying to figure out why something occurred. And so one of the most healing things, and I've only been doing it for about 7 months actually, but one of the most healing modalities that I've used has been acupuncture. And it's because I don't understand it at all. It's very complex while also simple at the same time. So I don't need to know which point's doing what. I just trust them. And so because of that, just that like release at all of me not needing to understand it has been massively healing for me, because I didn't need to understand and like write down all the reasons why I went, because I knew there was this like low grade stress that just I wasn't able to touch with all of the work I was doing with therapy and somatics and energy and all the things. And so someone's like, have you tried acupuncture? I'm like, no.
It was a big piece of my healing too. I was really lucky. The guy that I went to, he unfortunately moved to Santa Fe, but I was with him for years, and he got me through like even just being on steroids when I was pregnant and back on steroids, and you know, your body, just the way it absorbs these medications, just helping me with symptoms, getting me through 2 pregnancies. And there's so much we can talk about, even just post-pregnancy, what women go through. And we're not taught to go seek out this help because it's so important. Like, acupuncture for me was a main piece of my healing. Yeah. And if you think about it, like, our bodies are energetic and electric.
Right.
Right? So we have these meridian points. And so acupuncture just kind of, you know, it runs on those points. Yeah. And again, it's another thing we're not taught even exists. Yep. Like, we're not taught all these things exist, and it is literally what we are. It blows my mind.
Yeah, agreed. So I was doing a lot of back treatments and shoulder treatments because they were also doing some cupping and stuff while I was there. But I have digestive issues. Lots of constipation is my situation. There it is, guys. I think I've talked about it before. But so knowing that there's constipation points on like your sides of your knees was wild to me.
It would release.
And it worked.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is crazy.
It's all connected.
I love it.
All connected.
So cool. Yeah. I love it so much. Yeah, we definitely need to have a conversation just about the weird things that we've done for healing. That would be super interesting. Just because even if no one else ever watched, we need to have that conversation just anyways. So one of the things I like to ask people when they're here, because I do talk a lot about how everybody has their own way of handling life and keeping themselves on track as much as they can. Is there something that you'd say helps you or that you use regularly to keep yourself more present, like in the now for yourself, but also with your family and the business?
Yeah, I think I have a couple things that I try to do. First of all, for me, sleep is number one. Like, I need my sleep. And then I also got myself like this, well, actually, my husband bought it for me. It's this awesome like heat healer. Okay. So it has like a PMF mat, and it's kind of like a tunnel, and it has red lights in it and heat lights in it. And so I understand like the detoxification part of it is so important. Like, we all need to constantly detoxify. Like, our world is disgusting, you know. So that's a big piece for me. So with that mat and the heat healer, it's like, okay, if I go in there, I'm like multitasking. Right. So I can feel like I'm like not wasting time, right? So we always feel like, oh my God, are we wasting time? Yeah. So for me, this is like a no-brainer. I go in here at least every other day, and I put on binaural beats so I can go inside, you know, and just like be in that inner world. And at the same time, I'm on my PMF mat. I got my red lights. I got my heat. So that for me isn't like non-negotiable. I have to do that a couple times a week.
Cool.
And so I have that hour to myself, which is awesome. And, you know, I am home alone a lot.
Yeah.
So I do take breaks in the middle of the day, and I'll just go sit in the sun, especially like when I can,
Yeah.
you know, because of the weather. But when I can, like, I will go sit in the sun. I will go on walks. I'll call a friend and be like, let's just take a lap with the dogs. Like, so I will, in the middle of the day, always try to carve out moments where I'm just chilling for, even if it's 10, 15, 20 minutes, you know? And, you know, I try to stay in touch with my, like, fitness. Like, I try to go to the gym and, you know, because I know that muscle. So, there, I'm constantly doing things. I don't necessarily know that I have, you know, a plan.
Right,
but
sure.
I'm just carving out chunks where I'm like, I need a couple chunks for myself.
Well, and here's the deal. If you weren't practicing presence in general, you wouldn't be able to find those spaces. And that's the piece I think a lot of people don't think about. It doesn't mean that you have to like sit down on your yoga mat every day for 15 minutes and meditate or whatever it is. If you're letting yourself connect to your body enough to know when it needs something.
Yeah.
But also giving yourself the ability to notice those spaces and take them, that alone tells me that you have a connection with your body and have a presencing, whether it's a specific thing or not.
I'm very present with my body. And I got to be honest with that book, The Power of Now, that I mentioned. When I found that book, I read it over and over and over and over again for like a year straight. I think I read it like 12 times in 1 year. And I reread it at least 5 times a year.
Okay. Now I need to get it.
It made such an impact on me. Like at one point I was even falling asleep listening to it, like almost like mental. Because I was like, oh my God. Like it just blew my mind so much.
Yeah.
And I realized it really talks about like the chatter. Like you said, you have a busy mind.
Yeah.
How that's almost like, it's like our mental, like the mental chatter is almost like a crazy person.
Yeah.
You know, and
sure.
it's not normal. Like that's not how it's supposed to be. Like we're supposed to be in the room, in our bodies, in the space that we're in, not in our heads. And when I finally understood that and started constantly pulling myself out, even the way you look at the room looks different.
Right.
You know, it's so weird. I don't even know how to say it. Like you just look at it differently.
It's funny that you say that because as soon as you're saying that, and this may not make sense to anyone else, so bear with me. Last time I saw you, and I haven't seen you in a couple of years, probably 3 years. And so, I mean, other than on social media, you know, but you walked in, and I actually had stalked like the RSVP list on Jamie's birthday party, and I was like, oh, Emilia might be there. And so when you walked in, there is a difference. I feel like you can tell a difference between somebody's energy when they walk in a room and they are in the room. And as soon as you said that, I'm like, yeah, I felt it. I could feel the difference.
Cool.
100%.
Love that.
Yeah, so you're doing it. It's working.
Love it. Thanks.
So big recommendation. I'm going to buy that book now, and now I think everybody else should too. But that helps. So I think a lot of people think they must have this very strict, specific routine, and some people do. Like we had Monica Adams on a couple weeks ago, and she has a very specific thing she does every morning, and that works for her. I've had phases of that. Mine kind of goes and bobs and weaves depending on where I'm at mentally, usually. But I like to give people the opportunity to share that with the audience because I want them to always see that it doesn't have to look a certain way.
No, it doesn't. And I do have a little bit of like, you know, because I have kids. So when I get up in the morning, like I always say like, I don't really own my life right now. You know, like my life is like divided into a million chunks of everybody else's stuff. But I do have certain things that are non-negotiables. Like the first thing I do in the morning is I drink like 32 ounces of water. I put the elixir in there.
Oh, okay.
And some lemon juice and a little bit of sea salt.
Okay.
And that's like my morning cocktail. So while I'm running around getting the kids, you know, the dogs, everybody settled, like I'm just chugging this giant mason jar. So I immediately start the day like I'm flushed, I'm great, I'm like, you know, kid liver's getting a clean out, like everything. Immune system's good, hydrated, all of that in one drink. And then when everyone's gone, I'm like, okay, now I can make myself my coffee, my breakfast, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So that is my one thing that I definitely do every morning.
That's great. I love that. Now
I
I'm
don't
like,
sit and meditate and journal and all the things that they say you should do.
Right.
And I wish I did. I probably would be even better if I did.
Sure.
I just would rather sleep the extra half an hour, to be honest.
I do the same thing. I'll look at night and I'm like, okay, what time do I need to be up tomorrow? Let's set the alarm different today. I'm usually awake before it happens anyways, but I give myself the option. Like if I'm in a good sleep, I can at least stay that way without something buzzing. But I think that's a good idea because I've tried the water the lemon water. I've tried the salt water. I've tried, but putting them all together, like you just said, actually sounds like it's going to be tasty.
It's very tasty.
And I'll drink that much more than I will the other options.
Yeah,
so
and
I'm
adding the
gonna try
elixir
it.
too, it like also makes it like the color's pretty, and I know I'm getting like ginger, cinnamon, the the elderberry, so it's anti-inflammatory, all of the things.
I bought your tea bags actually. I made one of the chai tea, and then I gave the green tea to my mom because she likes to drink. That's the only caffeine she really gets, so I give that to her for Mother's Day. And I'd seen one of your posts when you guys were you were like on your back patio or something, and how pretty it was.
The green tea.
And it's so funny because I'm like, even though I know it's good for me, I bought it because I'm like, oh, that's so pretty. I want some of that.
Yeah, we all like to look at pretty things.
Yes. So it's a win-win.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we kind of really brought home a lot of the points that I knew you and I could talk about in a cool way that people could pull from. And that's always my goal, is to know that someone's going to walk away with a nugget that resonated with them.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. And everybody, if you want to check out all things Elderberry, it's allthingselderberry.com, correct?
Yes.
And then we'll link everything below too. I highly suggest that you do because it's good. Yeah, we're big fans in our house. So Tony is a picky person. So if that tells you anything.
Love it. Thanks, Tony.
Yeah. I know. I told him, I was like, you need to be her spokesmodel. And he was like, what, of me chugging it at the fridge door? I was like, yeah, that'd be funny.
That'd be great.
I'll have to capture him one day and give it to you. But
like we have an affiliate program.
Right. Yeah, there you go. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. And we'll make sure everybody knows where to find you, because obviously I believe in your product and what you're doing.
Love it. Yeah, thank you. And I'd love to come back and talk about all the crazy
Yes,
stuff.
I would love to do that too. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for being here. As always, if you liked the episode, please hit the share button and send this to somebody or anybody that you think might benefit from the conversation. And if you have not already, make sure that you give it a thumbs up and subscribe and leave us a review. And then next time, we'll see ya. Thank you for listening to Operation B, the podcast. To support this message and to support the show, please make sure that you like, follow, and share the podcast wherever you enjoy listening. And be sure to leave us a review on iTunes. Thank you for being here, and see you next time.